Alright, this thing's having a very strange issue. This is a 2006 Kawasaki Brute Force 650 V-twin. And the seller said that this thing will not go over 30 miles an hour. He said it's like hitting a rev limiter right when you hit 30. And he tried a couple different things to fix the problem, but gave up in the end. So he replaced the battery, the timing chains. I think he made sure timing was on. He replaced the clutch belts, and he said nothing was working, so he ended up selling it to me for $1,300. So pretty good deal. These typically go for over $2,000, right around that $2,500 area, at least in my area. But this thing's pretty clean, so if we can get this thing running and driving good, it will be worth some good money. You can see the plastics are not cracked at all. No rips in the seat cover. This thing has very low miles, which is kind of surprising with the issue it's having. But it's got 4-wheel drive, 2-wheel drive option, 2,474 miles. So today we're going to try to figure this thing out and diagnose the issue. A couple different things we can check: timing, valves, fuel pump, CDI. The list goes on and on. It could pretty much be anything. Could be diaphragm in the carb, jets in the carb, dirty carb. So it could be a lot of different things. Maybe it's only running on one cylinder. You know, I don't know until we start digging into it. But for $1,300, I thought it was worth the risk, and I think it'll be a pretty good project. I like a good mystery, so never ran into this issue specifically before, so it should be a fun one to diagnose, and hopefully we can get this thing up, running, driving the way it should. And Vinny's here to help, Master Mechanic Vin, so we should get the job done with him. Right, Vin? He's itching to get going, so let's get this thing off the trailer and start working on it. Alright, so it looks like our gas tank, we're really low on gas. Alright, let's see if she fires up here. Alright, fired right up instantly. So that's a good sign. Get this thing backed off the trailer and we'll take it for a quick ride, see what it's doing. Alright, little walk around here. You can see it's smoking. It's smoking a little bit. And you can hear the engine's a little loud, almost like the valves. Hear that ticking? We'll put this thing in neutral. Oop, it stalled out. I can hear it ticking really bad. There's the smoke. See that? Alright, so it goes through all the gears really smoothly. High, low, reverse, all work good. And looks like it's still smoking though. This thing's warmed up pretty good now. Definitely stopped smoking as much. But let's take it for a little run up and down here. See if we can get going over 30 miles an hour. And looks like there's a leak. Yep, a coolant leak right there. See that? There's coolant pooling right there from, it looks like a base gasket or something. I don't know where that's coming from. We'll have to investigate that, but it's down low. Huh, where the heck would that be coming from? But yeah, it's not going over 25 miles an hour. I could not get this thing over 25. So a quick show you guys. We'll go for a little run here. Vinny likes to go right in front of the four-wheeler. Vinny, you can't go right in front of it. Full speed right here. Yeah, I see, you can see it's right in the 20s there. Yeah, look, it's all dripping from up there. There's some oil dripping from the valve cover as well. Looks like the exhaust gasket was on wrong too right there. See how it's pinched? That's why you see the exhaust smoke coming from there. But yeah, oil's definitely dripping down. I think it's a coolant line up there. It might be coming from there. But listen to that ticking. Tick, 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 tick. Oh. The seller was not kidding. This thing does not go over 30 miles an hour. So let's get this thing in the garage, start digging into it, see what we find. Definitely feels low on power, that's for sure. Alright, so first test drive on this thing, obviously it would not go over 30 miles an hour. So that is the main problem. We also saw the coolant leak right down here. Not sure where that's coming from yet. And then we also saw that this machine was smoking pretty badly. But when it warmed up, it was smoking a little bit less. So that's kind of what we're dealing with right now. We're gonna try to start with the basics and kind of try to diagnose it from there. All right, so the seller said they did an oil change on it. Let's just confirm that. Make sure the oil level's correct. Doesn't look milky or anything. Stick that back in. Yep, oil is to the full mark. And you can see it's not milky at all. Get a little bit on my finger here so you guys can see. Super clear. So that tells me right away that the head gasket isn't leaking and that the water pump seals are good. Get the seat off. Take a look underneath there. The seat's really nice. Alright, here we've got all the electrical components. We've got the brand new battery here. And then you've got all the fuses here. And you've got the solenoid, the CDI box. So we can definitely look at those and make sure none of the wires are pulled out of it. This comes off. Put all the plastics to the side. Take a look at the air filter. Alright, there is one in there. So take that off right away. Those were pretty loose on there. I want to see if gas is shooting out the carb. We saw that in one of our videos with the Outlander we were working on. Gas was shooting out the carb and it ended up being a timing issue. 3 teeth off as well. You can see the 2 carbs in there, so it's missing the foam around it. So I'm just gonna start this thing up and we'll see what the carbs do here. You can hear the fuel pump going. Shooting flames. That one's staying up, look at that. That's weird. Feel that slide staying up like that? The other one's down. Bouncing up and down like that. Look at that. That's really weird. See right here, this one. I don't know if you get that slide is going up steady. This one's bouncing up and down. Okay, that's fully up. So that's definitely an issue right there. So this slide right here is all the way up at idle and it's bouncing around. So that would be flooding that carb out completely. It's supposed to be down. This one's down and acting normal. Right, we got the plastic covering off here and it looks like we can get these bolts off here. Get this cage out. That pops out like that. Like that. Yeah, there's a bunch of gas down there. You guys can see it. See that? I don't know if you guys can see that or not. Yeah, pooling gas in there. See that? Kind of hard to see. Well, this one does not have it, so this one is getting flooded out for sure. So we'll start this thing up again, and you guys can see the difference between these slides here. It's pretty substantial. That one's bouncing up and down. That one's not. Look at that one. That goes up like that. So as that slide goes up, that needle allows more fuel in. So when you lap the throttle, this is coming all the way up like that. And that's like full throttle. So that's obviously letting way too much gas in. This one's pretty steady. So I don't know what would be causing that, but that's definitely one of the issues we're going to be dealing with. So it was interesting to see the side-by-side comparison. Let's see if it's getting fuel to the carbs here. Yeah, you can see the pump is working. So we're getting gas to the carbs. All right, that pulled off a little too easy. Right here. All right, we got the carbs off here. I think we found our coolant leak. I think it's right here. You can see gasket maker there. It looks like that O-ring probably went out, which isn't a big deal. We can just replace that O-ring and that will be fixed. Hopefully nothing's cracked or anything right there. But just looking at the manifolds here, making sure there's no cracks. And everything looks pretty good. So that's not the problem. And these little guys are plugged off. That would be an air leak if that was not. The two plugs on the carburetor right here, breather hoses, were plugged into one right here and one right here. So it looks like one goes into here, which goes into the cooling line, and then one goes into the case over here. So we'll make sure those aren't plugged up or anything. But yeah, so let's start digging into the carbs, see what we find here. All right, so here's the carburetor we were having issues with. Start with that one. I'm kind of curious to see what's going on with the diaphragm. So we'll start there and work our way towards the bottom of the carb. Could be pinched, could be broken or cracked. Let's see. All right. Cover looks good. Nothing weird about that. Spring is in there. Let's see what this diaphragm looks like. Yep, that was working. So that was doing the job. Needle looks fine. So far, no rips in the diaphragm. I was fully expecting to see a rip here. Well, no rips in the diaphragm at all. Looks pretty clean. Nothing out of the ordinary there. We'll check jetting and everything. Make sure that's all good to go. $142 for the main. That looks pretty clear. See what the pilot's at. Pilot, we have a 40. And that one is clear. The fuel screw is right here. We are about 2 turns out on the fuel screw. Fuel screw looks good. Float looks good. Needle looks good. Seat looks good in there. Alright, so the further back carburetor checks out. There was no issues with that at all. So now we're going to take apart the front carburetor here. We'll see what size the jets are in this one too. Alright. Spring was in there. Diaphragm looks good. So now this diaphragm actually has a little jet in there. That's interesting. You can see this one has like a little brass jet in the diaphragm. The other one did not have that. I wonder if that would cause a problem. Everything else looks good. Diaphragm's not ripped or anything. Alright, so I looked it up, and the diaphragm should have that little brass piece in there. We will have to find that for it. So this little brass jet right here is supposed to be in the other diaphragm too, so I wonder if that's the problem. We'll switch diaphragms and check once we get this other carb cleaned out. I mean, they're super clean. It looks like it was just cleaned out. Let's see, we've got a 138 for the main, and let's see what the pilot is. 40 for the pilot, so that all looks good. Alright, we got the carburetor back installed. Let's see if it's still doing that weird problem here. Turn on, turn off. Get these carburetors filled up here. Choke it. Not as bad, but you can see it's still pulsating quite a bit. see it's going up a little bit. Yeah, still doing it. See that? Yeah. So, I think it's that diaphragm. So we're gonna switch these around and see if when we put this diaphragm in here, if it makes a difference. Because I think it's that little brass jet in the diaphragm that's missing that's causing the problem. We got the diaphragms changed around. Let's see what happens. Yeah, this one's bouncing now. Look at that. So it is that little brass jet causing all the problems, it looks like. That's crazy. So I wonder if we have one sitting around somewhere from a different bike. Alright, we took a pilot jet we had from my kit here and we cut off the end of it. You can see the end is cut off, and I was able to make that little jet right there fit in there, so you can see it pokes through the other end. Let's just see if we can install that, if that fixes the problem. Alright, let's see if any changes happen here with that new fitting in there. This is the one we made. That's working. So now we'll put the good one back in here and see if we fix our problem. Alright, now we have both brass jets in there. Let's see if it works. This one's a little bouncier. Let's see if we rev it up. That one definitely stays up longer, but it doesn't shoot way up. It's better. Alright, so it's definitely better. Not perfect, but yeah, I think we just need to order one of those up for it to be perfect. But you can see the difference between them. This one stays nice and still, doesn't shake. And that one takes a while to come back down. So it's running rich as it's coming back down, which is not good. So obviously we need that part for this thing to run properly. But we fixed it a little bit. It's definitely not as bad. It definitely doesn't bounce all the way up like that when we're running it. So we'll see if it's a little bit better. I want to check compression on both cylinders, make sure those are good. Alright, let's get this plug out of here. See what compression is at. Spark plug wasn't really tight in there. Yeah, it looks pretty decent. Looks like probably a new plug in there. You can see it's a little white. And this is the cylinder that was running rich. So I'm guessing it was a new plug. But you can see it looks pretty decent. We will check spark and see what that looks like here in a second. We'll get the other one out first. You can see it's nice and brown. And that's the one with the good diaphragm. So yeah, that was to be expected. Here. Yeah, you can see the spark. That one looks good. That one's sparking too. So good spark. Compression tester hooked up. Now we're gonna do throttle open. And according to the manual, we want between 47 and 81 psi. Turn this on, throttle open. About 100 psi. That's pretty high. Alright, so the rear cylinder is good. Plenty of compression. Let's check the front one out. Alright. Alright, we're looking for right around 81 pounds of compression here on this one. Throttle open. Let's see what we get here. Okay, so this one's like 190. That's really weird. That is really, really strange. Huh, this one almost like doesn't have a decompression mechanism on it. Because that's really high. It should not be that high. So I'm not liking that this cylinder only has 100 pounds of compression while the front cylinder has like 190 pounds of compression. So I don't know what's going on there. So we're gonna check the valves and the clearance on those and make sure those are all within spec. All right, so here's the little timing window that's on the flywheel. Oh, that was pretty loose already on there. So we want to turn this thing over until we see a T and an F. And I've got the manual here. So that's the mark we're looking for right here. So that's going to mean top dead center on the forward cylinder. And then there's a T and an R for the rear cylinder. It's a little tricky with the pull cord. There's TR again. Alright, there's the mark. TF right there. Hopefully you guys can see that. So now we're going to come up here, get the valve covers off right here and right there in the back. So here is where it was leaking coolant from. And you can see the O-ring is broken in half. So that's why it was leaking coolant from there. So we'll replace that O-ring before we reinstall it into there. Let's get these caps off. Alright, so as you can see, the valves are not tight. They're like super loose. So this is supposed to be 4 thousandths to 6 thousandths, and that's like actually at like 10 thousandths of an inch. So those have to be adjusted. And then back here, these are supposed to be, what are they supposed to be here? 8 thousandths to 10 thousandths, and those have a lot of play in there. So those have to be adjusted to be a lot smaller. So we'll quick adjust those. At least they're not tight though. Alright, we set the intake valves to 5 thousandths. So you can see there's not a lot of play in there now. Before there was a ton. And the exhaust valves we set to 9 thousandths. And that's way less play than I had before. So that's gonna help that knocking out a lot. So now let's turn this thing over to TR. And we'll get these set up. Right there. So we are at top dead center on the rear cylinder. Now, oh, these are, look at that. That's loose on there. So these are tight. Look at that, that's just backed out. What the heck? These aren't even tight in there. Look at that. So this is really tight. Yeah, intake is really tight. Jeez, what the heck happened there? That's crazy. Those were just sitting loose in there. That could have been really bad. We could have destroyed the whole engine with that. So, good thing we're checking these. Holy cow. I don't know what the guy did here. I don't know if he checked them and forgot to tighten them back down or what. But that's horrible. You never know what you find. That's crazy it ran like that. But maybe it was only running on one cylinder. That is very interesting. Never seen that before where they're just backed out like that. Exhaust feel fine. Those actually feel perfect. We'll tighten those up too just to make sure, but yeah, let's set these intake valves. There we go. So that rocker was just like stuck down, I think from having these backed all the way out. But now we're going to fix that problem. Get this one. It's perfect right there. Should. Get these really tight. It's still a little loose for my liking. Back that back out. Right there. It's good. That's a lot better. Alright, we got a new O-ring going on here. Just like that. Follow that old gasket maker. Now this can be pressed in. Alright, so valves are all adjusted perfectly. Let's get a compression tester back in here and see if this compression went back up. Alright, throttle open. Nope, still around 100. So maybe the decompression mechanism is working in this cylinder and not the other one? Not too sure. Alright, well, what we're going to do is put a little oil down the cylinder and see if that compression shoots up. Put a little marble mystery down it. Oil going down. Yep. Shot up to 150. So I think we've got low compression in the rear cylinder here. So we'll let that sit with the Marvel Mystery Oil for a little bit. But I'm guessing that's lower compression in this cylinder, unfortunately. That really sucks. So that's where we're getting the blow-by from the piston rings, and it's probably lacking power, only being 100 psi. Because you could see it shoot up to 150, like instantly. So I'm thinking that's the real issue, but we're gonna put everything back together, take this thing for a little ride, see if we can get up to speed. All right, we got all the valves set. Let's see if this thing sounds a little better. Backfiring. Oh yeah. Oh man. Backfiring pretty good. Yeah, it's backfiring through there. So I suspect timing's off if it's backfiring. So I think what we're gonna do is quick check timing. The valve cover has to come off of here. And then we have to get this thing to top dead center. Kinda hard to get to. Pop off. There we go. Check out this timing. Alright, so we're at top dead center. You can see in there it says TR. And up here you can see that there's a line right there and a line right there. So I think we're off by like a tooth at least, the timing. So we're gonna set that back a little bit, get that timing spot on. All right, now we have the timing spot on. You can see the line right there, the line right there, parallel with the surface of the head. Lobes pointing down, cam chain nice and tight, so we can get that cover back on and do the next cylinder. All right, we got the valve cover back on that one. Now we go to the front facing one. We're looking for the TF on the flywheel here, and what we're going to do is turn the crankshaft clockwise 270 degrees. So we'll go this way with it, clockwise 270 degrees. And then we should be top dead center on the front cylinder. Perfect. All right, we got the valve cover off over here. The sprocket is right here for it. And it looks like timing is spot on. You can see the line right there and the line right there, perfectly parallel with the surface of the head there. So we have to seal this up. This one was leaking pretty good, this valve cover, so that's why I wanted to take this one off. I kind of knew the timing was good on this because it wasn't popping out of the carb, but it's good. We're putting some gasket maker on there and sealing that up because that was leaking pretty good. All right, timing is spot on now. Let's see if it still backfires through that carb. Sounds pretty good. Alright, we're gonna put everything back together and take it for a quick ride. It's getting dark here, so we don't have much time. Let's see if it's fixed. Oh, it's fixed. We hit 40 just going up there. So it's running perfect now. No more ticking either. So the valves are fixed. Yeah, it is really powerful now. So I think it was that carb and the timing and the valves that caused it. So combination of a bunch of different things. Really fast down. Alright, it is running perfectly. I'm really happy with it. It's really powerful. What a difference that makes. No leaking anymore either. From the valve covers or the coolant line, so we're good to go there now too. So this one's pretty much all set. We're going to order up that little brass jet for it, but other than that, it's pretty good. It's smoking a little bit yet, and that goes away. It seems like it's definitely getting a little bit better. So we're gonna run some Marvel Mystery Oil in there, see if we can free up those rings, but it has a lot of power, so I'm not too worried about it. Alright, this thing is running great. I was not expecting that to work, but the combination, I think, of the timing being off a tooth, the brass little jet and the diaphragm missing, and then the valves being completely off on the intake of the rear cylinder, I think all led to this combination of problems and made this thing go really slow and bog down. So now it goes extremely fast, very powerful. It gets up to 40 in like a couple seconds, so it's definitely fixed. We're still gonna order up that little brass thing and put a new diaphragm in there, just because the one we put in It's just like a makeshift one, so we'll do the correct one there. Probably change the oil again, and this thing should be good to go. We are going to let this thing sit overnight with some Marvel Mystery Oil in it, and I'm thinking that this thing hasn't ran in a long time, and I hope the rings are just stuck on the rear cylinder, causing it to smoke a little bit. It doesn't smoke a ton, but it does smoke a little bit, and I'd like that to go away. So, this one turned out pretty good. I cleaned it up a little bit too. You can see the plastics are pretty much mint on this thing. I mean, it is really, really clean. The rims are also spotless. So, I don't think the guy rode this thing very much. And I think it was garage kept for its whole life. I mean, look at the racks. No rust on the racks at all. So, this is going to be a really nice four-wheeler. I really like it. It's got lots of power. So I'm pretty happy with it. I'm just happy it wasn't anything serious, and we were able to fix it within one day. Pretty good. Not too bad. So thanks for watching, guys. Thanks for subscribing. Stay tuned for next video. And until next time, we are out.